Good morning, everyone. So Mike already talked a little bit about the developer ecosystem, and I want to provide you a little bit more detail on what we've worked on so far this year, and things you've already seen, and what we're going to do in the future over the next half a year, 6 months, and maybe to the end of next year. So I'm going to start with you guys writing plugins and how we make it easier. So I'm not sure when we introduced plugins 2.0, but has it been a year, Don? A year or 1.5 so far? And by now we rolled it into all the products. And Fisher and Crucible is going to have a presentation later on. We did a lot of work to extend Fisher and Crucible as well, added more plugin points to the products for Jira and Confluence. For example, in Confluence, you can now plug into the rich text editor and take use of the full power of TinyMCE. So you can hook in the spell checker or any TinyMCE plugins you can find on the web. In addition, we have web items all over. Mike had in his presentation how easy it is to add web items to Jira, and the same is true for all the other applications as well. So we also created some tools that will help you guys develop plugins for Atlassian products in a more easy and efficient way. And the first one I want to mention is the SDK, which the integration team worked on for quite some time now. Initially, it was planned for like a 2-week iteration and get the first draft out there, but since then they've actually worked for it more than a month to get it ready by AtlasCamp and get it ready for you guys. So big thanks to the integration team from my side here. The original idea for the SDK came from an internal need because we want to develop cross-product plugins at Atlassian. One example is coming later with the plugin manager itself. And in order to do this, we need to test the plugin against every product, of course, and also different versions of the product. And without a common framework to do that efficiently, it's pretty hard. So we needed something that makes it simple to do simple things and possible to do hard things. And that's also, when I saw that, I figured, wow, that's something we need for the developers outside of Atlassian as well. Especially for new people, the barrier is so high, they don't know Maven. There are a lot of tools that people have to get familiar with, and we just want to make that easier. So the SDK is the first step towards that goal. And now you can download the SDK. It already includes Maven, and you don't have to worry about the things. We provide a set of shell scripts that have autocomplete functionality on the console, so you can create a plugin and run it within an instance of the application with 2 commands. And there are going to be 2 more presentations later on that from Ben and Don. So the next thing we're working on is improving the plugin development infrastructure. So far, we have a shared SVN repository that all plugin contributors share with each other. There's no permission for a certain directory. Everybody has the same permissions across the whole directory. You also share a wiki, usually for documentation. Each plugin gets 1 page where they can put some documentation. You can have multiple pages if you want, but that's the common standard. You have a Jira project, a shared Fisher instance where all the projects are listed, so it's not separated by plugin project the way it should be, and the same is true for Crucible. In addition, you have to log into each of the system with like a separate login. It's probably the same, but we have to also create it manually, so when somebody asks us to create an account, it's just a big pain at the moment. So the reason or the way we want to solve it is using Jira Studio for everything. Jira Studio has a few advantages that we want to use and bring to the plugin development community. First of all, the most important thing to me is that we have one single login for all the different systems. The second thing is that you get per plugin, you get a project in Jira, you get a space in Confluence, so you're not limited to 1 page of documentation. You can use the whole space any way you want. And you get a repository for each plugin where you can also adjust permissions and make it more easy to browse and point to the repository from other parts of the application. Which brings me to the next point in navigation. Jira Studio has an advanced linking between all the applications. So if you want to reference a certain parts of the code from within your documentation or from a Jira ticket, Jira Studio makes that real easy. In addition, the activity streams, if you're interested in another project that you might not be contributing so far, you can stay up to date using the activity stream and see what's happening there. Or if you guys decide to work together, hopefully this environment makes that easier. Fisher and Crucible is a little bit better integrated in that. As I mentioned, you get the repository for yourself. And in the future, we hope to also have Bamboo running for each plugin and enable continuous integration to test against recent product versions and upcoming product versions and the latest milestones. So you will know when your plugins break on a daily basis. But the biggest benefit is the standardized infrastructure. So because we know where each project is, where the documentation for that project is, where the repository is, it's all the standardized infrastructure in Studio, we can take advantage of this and better integrate it with other systems. For example, our plugin exchange later on. Hopefully we can automate processes to fill out the form in the administration area where you have to point to the plugin to the repository where the code is contained or code is stored, so you don't have to do that anymore. You just say you're on the Studio instance and we fill out the rest for you. So those are a few screenshots for those of you who haven't seen Jira Studio. So you get a project for each of them. You have a navigation bar at the top, which allows you to easily navigate between the different systems, the issue tracker, Confluence, and Fisheye. And you also have a history across all the projects. And when you navigate around and you view a ticket now, and then you go to the source code and then to the wiki afterwards, you get that all stored in the history, and the history is persistent. So next time you come back and you remember that I looked at this ticket and I need this now, it's very likely it's still in the history and you can easily navigate to it. And then you can, of course, have a whole space to document your plugin, which is a lot better than a single page. And a few pretty fisheye graphs of your plugin. The next step towards a better community, or like making it easier to get started with plugin development, is the documentation. Sarah already mentioned that we want to improve the documentation drastically over the next few months by starting to taking the documentation out of the normal user guide and giving it a separate space. The Fisher and Crucible team has already started doing that. They have a separate documentation space on confluence.atlassian.com, and they explain, they have a nice overview on the first start page where you get some tutorials at the top. You get a little graph over the infrastructure to see how it all fits together. And they also have links to the remote API, which Mike mentioned already. We're working on REST, and it's pretty important that we document that nicely. So we're going to have a nice REST-based documentation as well, where you can see what you get when you request a certain path, and you can get to see what's part of the XML or the example XML that you will receive when you access that URL. The next part of the ecosystem is how the customer finds the plugin. And yeah, again, Mike already talked a little bit about it, but we have been doing a lot more marketing around the ecosystem lately. So we have had a lot of webinars with plugin partners who advertise and show off their plugins and webinars, and we've been blogging a lot more and going to do that even more in the future about the plugin system in general, the community, and new cool plugins that you guys develop. The second part is the plugin exchange itself. I talked about it yesterday. I'm not sure how many people were there or the day before yesterday at the Jira launch, but earlier this year, in the middle, we introduced the plugin exchange. I'm not sure how many people have seen it already. Can I have you guys all seen the exchange? No? Okay, so it's probably good that I talk about it. I wasn't quite sure. So the exchange basically helps you to find plugin that might be of interest to you and to learn more about the plugins themselves. One way to find plugins and identify plugins in the plugin exchange is the search. So if somebody mentions a nice plugin or you read about it on a blog post, then you can just go to to the plugin exchange, type it into search. Maybe you want to make sure that the product is only for Jira. If you only have Jira running, you want to limit the search to Jira, and you get a list of all the plugins. Here we searched for Agile across all the products, and we found 16 plugins. So if you're interested in Agile, you might want to do the same and take a look what's available for the products. The second way to explore and find plugins is by browsing by product. So you can go to there's a little bar on the side. You can choose the product you have, and if you want to drill down a little bit more, you can also specify a category. So for Jira, we have 15 categories from the admin category down to the work log and time tracking. If we have a look more at the time tracking, we click on this time tracking category, and then we can see that we have 19 plugins currently available that are all related in some way to logging your work or time tracking. The first one makes it easy and automates the time tracking. The second one is actually developed by Atlassian and the guys in Poland. It's a connector for Eclipse, which also allows you to log your time in Jira from your Eclipse environment, so the developer doesn't have to change the environment and get out of their workflow in order to log the work they just did on a ticket or to resolve the ticket. Some other ways are also to browse by most popular and recently updated. The most popular plugins are currently not categorized, but we're going to fix that in the next version, so you can also search by most popular plugins for certain products. And currently it's measured by downloads. The recently updated is everything in the plugin exchange that has been updated recently, whether it's an updated plugin or newly created plugins, they will be all listed there. If you want to stay up to date with that list, and if you want to know whether something new was released for your product, you can also subscribe to an RSS feed that will give you all the news on a daily basis, or well, probably hourly basis. Every single time a new plugin is submitted, you can get it right into your inbox. So that's a little much all at once. I'm missing a few charts there. So there are like more details you can see on the plugin exchange. If you look at the plugin and if you want to know what it actually does, if you drill down, you get a description of the plugin and you get a compatibility matrix. I'm going to show you that later again. So basically, you can see what version of your plugin is compatible with what version of the product. So if you run the latest version of Jira 4 and you want to install a new plugin, you want to make sure that this version is actually compatible. The version of the plugin is actually compatible with your latest version of Jira. You can also have the user reviews are a little hinted there. The plugin exchange offers users the ability to review plugins and let other people know if they like the plugins and whether the plugin was any useful for them by leaving a comment to say what you did with the plugin and why it was good to you. So I highly encourage you to, when you download a plugin, go back to the exchange and give it a rating and review it and let other people know what you think. So we can take the most benefit of it. The reviews are currently a little sparse across the system, so we want more of those details. You also have screenshots for each of the plugins. So if you upload a plugin, I highly encourage you also to add some screenshots. It gives users a better idea of what your plugin does, especially if it's not only an administration or like a job plugin that does something under the hood, but has some UI. People are always like screenshots and to see something pretty. There are also more details you can look at. Some of them are the latest version. You can see what license the plugin has. So if you submit it and you want to specify the license, whether it's commercial or not. And for all the open source plugins, of course, you can go grab the source of the plugin and extend it yourself, or build upon it and adapt it for your own needs, and hopefully you can contribute it back to the community at some stage. We also offer the ability to specify whether you support a plugin. So if you sell the plugin, then you're probably more likely to support it as well, and you can leave a phone number or an email address that people can use to contact you in case they have any problems with the plugin. Other useful links you can provide is a link to the issue tracker, the wiki, and continuous integration. As I mentioned before, in the future, we hope we can automate that. If you have your plugin in the Studio instance, then that can be all automated. You don't have to fill any of that out anymore. But it's good if some people find problems or have feature requests, then they can just click on issues and create an issue in Jira for you. They can also download the plugin from there and check out the source or have a look at the history, what has changed. The version history also provides comments if you look down in the details, so you can tell the users what has actually changed in this version and why it's good for them to download that version and whether it's useful. And last but not least, you can, of course, provide your own details, your address, and a homepage, a link to your homepage. And you can also, when the user clicks on the vendor itself, it gets a list from all the people that are associated with the vendor, like all the developers, and you can see all the plugins developed by the vendor. So if somebody checks out one of your plugins and they really like it, there's a good chance that they check you out, and see what else you have in the plugin exchange. Publishing plugin. For any one of you who has published a plugin before the plugin exchange, then you will remember this XML file that you had to create and submit to the SVN repository. That was not pretty, and it was very painful for anyone who updated plugins more frequently. So now we made it a little easier. This form doesn't look super easy, but it's much easier than the XML file where you could make a mistake and screw up the XML a little bit and then it wouldn't submit and you have to find that. So now we have a UI that allows you to specify the different version, the build number, and the license. So you can pick from a few licenses and you can read up on the different licenses and see what it means to use that license. So hopefully this will make it easier. And if you have any feedback, of course, then you can file an issue or just come and talk to me later. So the plugin exchange, Mike already showed a few statistics, but here like a couple more, has currently over 400 or around 400 plugins with over 1,000 versions total for all the plugins. So it's been steadily growing and even more over the last year, which is really exciting. For Jira, that means that we have more than 130 plugins alone for Jira. So if you download Jira 4 and you want to extend it in some useful way, go and check out the plugin exchange and download a few of those plugins as well. So the next part is the administrator installs the plugin. And Mike already said we're working on a plugin exchange manager, and I thought it would be good to provide some screenshots from what we have so far. But first of all, the most important part, why would you be interested in a plugin exchange manager, is it gives you access as an administrator from within your instance of the product to the plugin exchange. So it communicates via REST API to the plugin exchange and gives you all the updated plugins. It tells you what's new, and you can manage your existing plugin or install new plugins. So it also tells you if you want to upgrade, it tells you what available upgrades there are, or what plugins require a Confluence upgrade. So if you want to install a certain plugin, then it tells you, oh, this plugin only works with a new version of Confluence. You have to download it first in order to use this plugin. But the most important part is the plugin compatibility. So it's already listed in the plugin exchange, but for the administrator, it's sometimes a pain to go to the plugin exchange and look at each plugin, call it up, and see what the version compatibility is. So what you can do in the plugin manager is to specify a version which you want to check or which you want to upgrade to, and it will list you all the plugins that are incompatible with this version, or that will be compatible if upgraded, or that are already compatible. So you can already see that they're, like, if you want to upgrade to a certain version, that there might be problems with like some plugins and that you might have to wait, or that you have to contact the plugin vendor and ask how long it will take to upgrade. So it gives you a much better idea of what will break or what will work with the new version. So that's it for now, and I want to take Jonathan to the front as well and to answer any questions. I hope you have a few. And thank you for listening.